Good evening. I'm Kevin Boyd, the chair of the Historic Preservation Commission. May is Preservation Month, a time to honor our shared history and the work of making sure the physical part of our heritage survives. And while the past few months have been difficult for us all, I've been thinking a lot about the Iowa City community members from the past who have endured difficult times. The generations of citizens who came before us, walked on the same streets we walk, spent time along the Iowa River or in our parks. They live in the neighborhoods we now live. They faced difficult times too. They faced it with determination. They created community. They leaned on each other when days were tough. The families who sent loved ones to fight the fascists, some of whom never got to embrace those soldiers again. The Black families who opened their doors for students who could attend university but couldn't live on campus. The Mexican immigrants who came to Iowa City for opportunity and turned boxcars into homes and the land into a neighborhood where the Oak Grove Park is now. Workers who gave up a shift to a coworker so that another family might make a little money during the Depression. The women who were told elective office wasn't for them, even after Mayor Emma B. Harvat's successes, others came up short and for no other reason other than their gender. There are countless stories of perseverance, determination, and creating community right here in our own shared history in Iowa City. We must persist in telling our shared history, our shared stories. We must persist in preserving the heritage buildings that are part of that shared history. And to me, that's what Preservation Month is about. We have some successes to share since our last award ceremony. We have 5 new local landmark properties. The Ned Ashton House. I think we're going to see them now. Yeah, the Ned Ashton House. The
529 Brown Street is best known as the Shimmick House.
The Ned Ashton House, the old post office, which is now the senior center. The restored Old Settlers Cabins in Upper City Park. And 2 buildings now occupied by Public Space 1 at 225 and 229 North Gilbert Street. Those 2 buildings are great examples of adaptive reuse. The city purchased the buildings and asked for community input on how they might be reused. Public Space 1 purchased the newly landmark properties, and they're a great addition to the Northside Marketplace. We also have some potentially good news to share on the Sing Se Gilmore House at 119 East Market Street. Through discussions with the city staff and the University of Iowa, there's an agreement that the building will be moved and preserved. The council is scheduled to vote on that agreement at their June 16th meeting. I hope they'll support it. A year ago, the city also established the Historic Preservation Fund. It helps fund home improvement projects in historic districts or for local landmark properties, either as grants or no interest loans, depending on income. If some of these awards tonight inspire you to work on your own home, contact us to talk about your project. Finally, I want to thank 2 outgoing commissioners. Thomas Agron and Gosha Clore have each served 6 years, 2 terms on the commission. Their final meeting is next month. I appreciate their contributions to the commission. Tonight's an evening to celebrate successes and stewardship of some of our historic buildings and the people who own them, the craftsmen and craftswomen who worked on them with great care. But we couldn't host tonight without our co-host, the Johnson County Historic Preservation Commission and Friends of Historic Preservation. I'm going to hand it over to Jenna Lee Swaim, the president of the board of Friends of Historic Preservation.
Thank you, Kevin. Hello, everyone. As you may know, most of you, Friends of Historic Preservation is a local nonprofit here since 1975, and we're really happy to again co-sponsor this annual event, though in a slightly different form. I'll keep my remarks short so we can get to the awards part, but I'd like to touch on only a few of the accomplishments of Friends of Historic Preservation since we last met for awards. A huge part of our mission includes our salvage barn out at Eastside Recycling. The salvage barn is an architectural warehouse where we sell old house parts salvaged and donated, thus keeping them out of the landfill, putting them back into the economy, and bringing them into our homes and businesses. Last fall, we received a $5,000 climate action grant from the city of Iowa City focused on landfill diversion. This grant is helping make the salvage barn more effective and efficient. And as is becoming clear to us all, preservation and sustainability go hand in hand. In terms of Friends deconstructing services, also supported by the grant, we salvaged a half dozen buildings, thus diverting more from the landfill. In one example, staff and 17 volunteers salvaged the hardwood maple flooring from 2 rooms in the downtown rec center, 1,700 square feet in all. Thanks to the city for this opportunity. The photo in the lower left shows some of the flooring panels before we delivered them to the salvage barn. In our mission of education, Friends created a great new website last summer. The website has featured several of Iowa City's oldest buildings, ones we treasure and work hard to keep protected. And the website also builds a network of preservation. Also, for your convenience, you can now join and donate online. And we've revved up our Facebook presence as well. Also in education, we held a workshop in March on reglazing windows. We were planning 2 more workshops as well as the parade of historic homes, and then COVID-19 hit. We had to postpone those events as well as close the salvage barn. Super disappointing, but watch for more on this when the coast is clear. Finally, in terms of our mission of advocacy, we spoke up about the importance of the Civil War era house at 412 Clinton Street and adjoining properties. And since the fall of 2017, Friends has advocated strongly for saving Iowa City's oldest house in the original town limits. That's the Sanksay Gilmore House at 109 Market Street. As Kevin mentioned, an agreement between the university and the city will come before the City Council for a vote in only a few weeks. We encourage the whole community to contact the City Council on why this 1843 house must be saved. Please join us in speaking up. So, sustainability, hands-on preservation, education, and advocacy, that's what we do with your help. Now on to the awards and our first category. Helen?
Thank you, Gina Lee. Hello, my name is Helen Burford, a member of the Historic Preservation Commission. Each year, the commission recognizes the award-winning work of community members. And I am pleased to announce the projects selected for paint and exterior finishes.
.529 Brown Street is best known as the Shimmick House, one of the important houses in the Brown Street Historic District. Constructed in 1890, this spoke Victorian was updated with an open neoclassical style wraparound porch in around 1918. This past year, owners Heather Widmer and Charles Stanier noticed that the house was showing wear and contacted Chris Berg to prepare and paint the house. Refreshed, the wide fascia boards and eaves in a soft cream frame the turquoise narrow clapboard. The original 1/1 wooden sashes contrast in traditional black. Congratulations to Heather Widmer and Charles Stanier and Chris Berg for CBP remodeling. 618 Dearborn, located in Longfellow Historic District, looks like it was featured in a 1928 House Beautiful magazine. That's just what its builder, Howard Moffett, intended. Inspired by readily available sources, each Moffett home has easily identifiable characteristics, like a massive front exterior chimney, square shingles with alternating narrow and wide laps, and an attached garage. Owner Lenore Maybaum recognized that this colonial revival-style house was a diamond in the rough. So with the keen eye of a contractor, the house was revitalized by removing the invasive Virginia creeper that was damaging the prominent Moffett chimney. The failing lead paint was removed and gutters moved back into place before the entire house was brought back to life with a new exterior color scheme. A new coat of paint on the shingles and refreshed trim done in cream, including the original shutters, and an accent color added for the front door made this house look fabulous. Congratulations are in order for owner Lenore Maybaum and her contractor Celtic Painting. We are pleased that owner Charlene Trawick revealed 918 East Jefferson from behind its mature landscaping, including such details as a half-moon window in its pediment and 2 projecting side bays, one with a beveled glass window. The decision to paint the house weighed heavily with Charlene, as the house in its 100-year history had been through a lot, converting from a single home to a duplex and back to a single home, and then altered to accommodate a youth emergency shelter. Charlene proceeded cautiously to find an old house authority, an experienced painter who would be able to guide the transformation she envisioned. With the help of Wayne Nuzzo, multiple colors were literally tested on the house until a tint was agreed upon that looked just right. And although the job was to be kept simple, even the porch ceiling was painted in traditional fashion to look like the sky using Haint blue. Congratulations to Charlene Trawick and contractor Wayne Nuzzo. 506 Lynn is another historical transformation by Mike Oliveira for Prestige Properties in the Northside Historic District. After careful repair of the existing siding and trim, Mike paired with colorist David Culberson to select a palette of period shades of sage, burgundy, and ivory. Clapboard on the 1900 folk Victorian are now sage with the trim boards ivory. The broad porch, added in the 30s, became a balancing architectural feature by painting the massive columns in ivory and highlighting the trim in burgundy to match the side gable. Congratulations to Mike Oliveira of Prestige Properties, to consultant David Culbertson of Sherwin-Williams, and to contractor Prairie Sun Building Services. 707 Rundle is one of 3 cottages rehabilitated by owners Jeffrey and Christine Denberg in the Longfellow Historic District. Last painted in 1989, they decided to meticulously improve the appearance of the house by washing the exterior and repairing the trim siding and screens prior to painting. Comfortable with the base color of the house, the owners turned to Joe Patrick, emeritus professor of painting, who had previously directed painting projects for their properties. And to their surprise, Joe did not like the colors the owners selected, but agreed to find trim colors that would emphasize some details while at the same time eliminate other details from being highlighted. Utilizing this new perspective, including a soft red screen door, transformed the house. Painting was completed by McCarran sisters, including reglazing windows, in just 3 weeks. And congratulations go to Jeff and Christine Denberg, contractors McCarran Painting and Lammers Construction. In memoriam, we recognize Joe Patrick's work for work on 707 Rundle, as well as the many other historic houses he lent his artistic aesthetic to.
My name is Cecile Kernsley. As a member of the Iowa City Historic Preservation Commission, I am making 3 awards in the category of residential rehabilitation. Rehabilitation acknowledges the need to alter or to add to an historic structure to meet continuing or changing uses, all the while retaining the property's historic character.
Our first property is 706 East College Street. An enormous rehabilitation project undertaken this year by John and Kristen Rummelhart, owners of 706 East College. Built around 1867 in the Greek Revival style, the house originally had a narrow width front porch, 2 rear porches in each corner of the house. In 1904, a remodel added projections for a front dormer and enlarged the rear portion of the house. And the front porch was wrapped around the west side of the house. A pedimented entry and a front dormer were added, and the rear portion of the house was enlarged. Sigma Nu fraternity then moved into the house. Further alterations ensued throughout the 20th century, seeing the removal of the chimneys, the western-facing front porch and porch railings on the front porch. the adding of aluminum siding and vinyl windows further transformed its appearance. Next came the tornado in 2006, damaging the metal siding. And then John Rummelhart came to the rescue with the aid of Warren Hanlon as consultant and woodworker, Tracy Evans as mason, and Terry Dunlap as house painter. John had the aluminum siding removed and repaired damaged wood and replaced damaged wood trim. A modern chimney was covered over with a brick period-looking chimney on the roof. Vinyl windows were replaced with appropriate windows. The foundation walls were repaired. A geothermal heating system was installed for greater energy efficiency. Finally, the house was painted in the gray and white scheme you see today. Given the amount of work that was done, it is safe to say that this house is ready to face another century of gracing the College Street landscape. Congratulations to John and Kristen Rummelhart and contractors Warren Hamlin, Tracy Evans, and Terry Dunlap. The next property is 738 Dearborn Street. The rehabilitation that was done at 738 Dearborn illustrates how important good period design is to the architectural integrity of a house. This story-and-a-half stucco-covered house was built in 1930 in the Craftsman style, and at some point underwent a significant alteration when its porch columns and railings were removed and replaced with non-historic wrought iron columns and railings. When owners Karen Kopp and Steve Hendricks saw that the metal was deteriorating, they decided to have the columns removed and replaced with a more compatible Craftsman design, and so they enlisted contractor Emerson Andrushock to do the project. While there were no photos of the house as it had originally appeared, there are multiple examples of Craftsman-style houses in the neighborhood to offer suggestions for porch design. The team decided on a stucco-covered, battered, tapered columns that would rise from rebuilt porch piers and reach to the porch gable's bottom frieze board. Emerson Andrushock's excellent eye for design determined the final details. Particularly effective is the spacing of the spindles in the porch railing, where a wider spindle in the middle of each part of the rail breaks up the expanse of narrower spindles. 738 has had the good fortune to have good owners in Karen Kopp and Steve Hendricks, and a real artist craftsman in Emerson Andrushock. Congratulations. The next property is 120 North Fairchild Street. Listed on the National Register in 1982, the Jackson Swisher House is one of Iowa City's most striking houses, and as such is cited in Margaret Keyes's book, 19th Century Home Architecture of Iowa City, also in UI history professor Lawrence Lafore's book, American Classic. And its photo is in Virginia McAllister's definitive reference book, A Field Guide to American Houses. Built in 1877 by Lewis Jackson and subsequently the home of the local insurance dealer Samuel Swisher for 40 years and the Clarence William Keyser family from 1930 through the early 40s, it also served as the temporary home of UI President Gilmore until he could move into the new official president's residence on Church Street in 1949. In its life, it has also been a sorority house and is currently a multi-dwelling residence, which is owned by William Means, whose mother, a Keyser, owned the house. The house is remarkable for its surviving number of Gothic Revival-style elements. So, why are we giving this already acclaimed house an award today? Well, the reason is because the owner, William Means, as a good steward of the property, took a close look at the house and carriage house and saw work that needed doing, and so he had it done, thus rehabilitating the property. In the course of the project, 2 elaborate chimneys were rebuilt and tuck-pointed. Mason Tracy Evans from Parnell found matching brick for the rebuild. Filario Construction from West Liberty replaced the roof, copper valleys, and gutters, No small task given the steep pitch of the roof. When remnants of the original carriage house windows were discovered in the attic there, Charlie Miller of Iowa City recreated 4 windows in the original style for installation there. David Knock of Williamsburg installed new double-hung windows in the house and carriage house, replacing those that had deteriorated or were built in a 1960s style. Finally, Don Edwards Painting from Riverside repaired damaged wood siding before repainting the house in the Victorian-inspired colors. Congratulations to owner William Means and to his team of craftsmen, including Tracy Evans, Filario Construction, Charlie Miller, David Knock, and Don Edwards for a job well done to save this house for the continued enjoyment and admiration of future generations.
Hi, I'm Sharon DeGraw. I represent the Brown Street area of the Historic Preservation Commission. I'm presenting 4 awards for additions and new construction. What we often see in this category are properties that have had work done to improve an existing addition. It can be that an old addition has been removed and is replaced by improved design and building materials. We also see homeowners who love their older house but feel they need to increase the size of the home. "412 Bayard Street is a 1928 cottage located in Manville Heights. This small house is similar to early Cape Cod homes on the East Coast, described as 2 rooms and a parlor. At some point in its history, an original open porch was enclosed as a 3-season room to gain more space. This area was deteriorating and never really worked with the historic architecture. The current owner, Isabella Grumbach, had the room replaced with a new sunroom addition. The new room has 6/6 divided light and shutters that match the main portion of the house. The addition matches the details of the home and provides additional space. The project was done in consultation with Steve Bach and Norm Helmuth Construction. We would like to congratulate them on a job well done and for putting the care into maintaining this lovely cottage. 720 North Dodge Street. With the kitchen and a half bath occupying most of the area on the first floor of their home, Renee Schluter and John Logel envisioned having more space while retaining the look and feel of their 1930s arts and crafts bungalow. They worked with Art Chapman Construction of Lone Tree to build an addition on the north side of the house. The results are satisfying to the eye. The narrow clapboard cedar siding matches the original structure down to the mitered corners. The exposed rafter tails of the roofline are a second detail that catch the eye and help maintain the arts and crafts style construction. The owners say they were pleased to reuse windows from the original north-facing facade of the house in similar positions of the new addition. Their interest to reuse and recycle continued to the inside of the house, where they relocated a door and recycled molding when possible. If you're on North Dodge, approaching Church Street, look for this charming bungalow with orange trim. It's maintained with thoughtfulness and care. Congratulations, Renee Schluter and John Logel, contractors Art Chapman and Lyle Deeds. 519 North Johnson Street is located across from Prusel School of Music and North Market Square Park in the Goosetown and Horace Mann Conservation District. It's an American four-square construction from 1923. The owners Jackie and Mathieu Bugère worked with Wagner Brothers to complete a 2-story addition on the back end of the house. The goal was to create a family room with bathroom on the lower level and bedroom with bathroom on the second story. The success of the new construction is twofold. The house now has the comfortable living areas and bathrooms many families like to have, but don't always find in a 100-year-old house. And the addition meets the historic preservation guidelines of looking complementary to the original house without attempting to convince us that it's been there all along. To praise just a few aspects of the addition, you'll notice key horizontal lines, such as the placement of the windows, the height of each story, and roof line correspond to the 1920s construction. The new construction is set back from the original house by 18 inches to help distinguish new from old. Both the homeowners and the builder sought opportunities to reuse building elements to keep materials from entering the landfill. 3 windows from the back of the house were removed and later installed in the new addition. There are other reused architectural elements that appear on the inside of the addition, including a set of beveled glass paneled French doors, a salvaged wood door from Cedar Rapids, and a 1912 Kohler sink. Jackie said the group worked well. She sought out pieces, Mathieu refinished them, and the Wagner brothers put it together. The project at 802 South Summit Street involves the design and construction of an attached garage to a 1.5-story Queen Anne cottage. This house, built in 1890, is somewhat unique because it had an existing attached garage, which had been added in the 1930s. Owners Adam Dupuy and Sarah Russet were interested in an updated, more practical garage with the ability to store 2 vehicles. They had a limited amount of space to work with and needed a design that would not disturb the upstairs south-facing window. Garrett Construction came up with a great solution to situate a breezeway between the kitchen and the new garage. The breezeway also works as a convenient mudroom with storage. From what I understand, an interior transition presented a challenge too. The only basement door next to a landing near the kitchen had to remain easily accessible. Everything about this project turned out lovely, including the updated exterior painting. Warm congratulations to Sarah and Adam and Russ Garrett of Garrett Construction.
This is Kevin Boyd again, the chair of the commission. There's one award this year for institutional rehabilitation. If you saw our invite or Facebook post about the event, the picture may have previewed the winner already, but if not, here it is. Horace Mann was built in 1917 to replace the aging Third Ward School. The school sits next to North Market Square Park, which has been a public space since the city was platted in 1839. It also sits next to 2 local landmark properties, 2 historic districts, and a conservation district are all within a block of the school. The Iowa City Community School District and the team working on the project had many goals in updating the building. Renovation of the existing historic school, construction of the new addition that was sympathetic to the existing architecture, and updating for the modern educational needs for students and educators. The original structure, which sits on the corner of a prominent intersection, looks largely as it did when it was built in 1917. Double-hung windows were installed to replace the aluminum windows that were smaller than the openings. On the interior, several places were opened back up or changed to meet modern needs. The building is now completely accessible. The addition added much-needed space for a modern school. It is set back from the site of the historic building, helping to differentiate it from the historic building. At the same time, the modern addition takes its cues from the original structure, including matching the brick and alignment of horizontal lines and design details. These details help the modern and historic blend well together. Congratulations to the Iowa City Community School District, Greg Stein, BC DM Architects, the school specialist, Will Downing at Rohrbach Associates, the local architect, and Dustin Nordell with City Construction. Because of their work, a school that has served generations of Iowa City students will continue for more generations. And we have 2 more awards. These are for commercial rehabilitation. Both projects are in downtown Iowa City and buildings that many of you will recognize. 16 South Clinton Street. Across from the old Capitol and the Pentecrest, this block of South Clinton contains some of the oldest commercial buildings in Iowa City, dating back to the 1870s. This building likely does as well, but the facade of the building is from the mid to late 1880s. The work of building owner Greg McDonald and contractor Pat Barton restored and polished up that facade. The brickwork included repointing as well as repair and replacement of some of the cracked bricks. They relocated a roof drain behind a parapet and patched the holes and repaired the brick to match the cornice details. Those details are more easily identified with fresh paint, and that same paint scheme was used on the details above the windows. Colors were chosen to give more dimension to the elaborate window hoods, before those details blended together with entirely white paint. The previous windows were replacements that did not fit the size of the original openings. They were replaced with correctly sized windows and historic black sashes. The awning was removed and the first floor storefront was painted to blend with the upper levels. The door to the upper levels was replaced with a more sympathetic door. The beautiful building really shines again. Congrats to owner Greg McDonald and Pat Barton with Corridor Construction. The Hotel Jefferson is one of the iconic buildings in downtown Iowa City. The first 6 floors were built in 1913 and the top 2 floors were added in 1928. The University of Iowa took over the building in 1967 and a major renovation was completed the following year. It converted the hotel rooms into office spaces for the university and the lobby into leasable retail spaces. It was at that time large exterior canopies were installed to help conceal the mechanical systems that required a drop ceiling. In 2017, Newman Munson Architects conducted a study to remove the canopies, make the entrances code compliant, and improve the pedestrian experience and overall aesthetic for downtown Iowa City. Last summer, the canopies were removed. The team worked to expose the column lines to visually reconnect the first floors to the upper stories, as intended in the original design of the building. They designed modern interpretations of the transom windows and uncovered some of the original transom windows that were restored and preserved at Mama's Deli. As part of the project, they sensitively reconfigured the entrances to make them ADA accessible. They reused existing bricks where repair work required some to be temporarily removed. The updates that reflect the original building look great. Congratulations to the University of Iowa and the consultants Newman Munson Architects, Modus, Raker Roads Engineering, and contractor McComas Lucina.
Thank you, Kevin. And today, we're here to give a special mention to the county courthouse.
One of the interesting things about our community is how thoughtful and resourceful we can be when faced with a problem. Twice, voters defeated bond referendums that would have allowed construction of court offices and a new jail. Yet, the courthouse remained dangerously unsecure and inaccessible to a large number of people. In the past, when faced with the obligation to make the building ADA compliant, the front entrance and stairs were permanently closed. This decision preserved the appearance of the original structure. The county then opted to move the entrance of the building to the rear by constructing a freestanding steel frame structure sensitively attached to the courthouse through the mortar joints. With the new entrance in place, secure checkpoints were added, as well as a wheelchair-accessible elevator to the courtrooms. The second and third years of this project focused on the courtrooms. Once again, the history of the building played a large part in the reconstruction of these spaces. The building interior was constructed with great caution with steel and concrete because the first 2 courthouses met their demise by fire. But by 2018, the original concrete floor was failing, and metal trusses had to be added to the existing I-beams. On top of the concrete, new multi-layered flooring was added to improve stability and the sound quality of the courtroom. And while the structure was open, cables were added to include computer and video displays and communication data lines. With input from the judges, the interior of the courtroom became a historical remodel. The attic treasure trove of trim provided local craftsman David Nassau with samples of the original chair rail, banisters, and finishes, as well as the paneling for the judges' bench and tables that needed to be replicated. The judge's bench was completely redesigned to be bulletproof and flexible. Seating for the court reporter, witness stand, jury, and attorneys matched the oak chairs found in other original courtrooms in the building. We would like to thank Eldon Slaughter, facilities manager, for overseeing the sensitive work done on this project, and thank the architect, Thomas McInerney, and contractors, Kennedy Construction and David Nassau, for their contributions.
Thank you, Helen. This year, in the category of stewardship, we have 2 awards. The Stewardship Awards recognize the ongoing care and maintenance that owners lavish on their historic homes over time.
608 Church Street in the Goosetown Horace Mann Conservation District. Pamela has owned this 1896 beauty since 2002. In recent years, she has repaired the porch and restored the double-hung windows on the first floor. The historic windows are now more energy efficient, and the top sashes can be lowered as they were designed to, allowing better air circulation. Second-floor windows are next on her agenda. What distinguishes this Victorian are the highly decorative trussed gables and barge boards on all four sides of the house. Each trussed gable has its own design and is set against fishtail shingles, including the gable on the newer one-story addition in the back, built by a previous owner. But detailed architectural features like these can fall victim to the elements over time and can invite nesting birds. So last year, when it was time to repaint, Pamela knew two things. She wanted to keep the paint scheme, and it was time to attend to the second-story trussed gables, which showed serious rot. Dwayne Google of Google's Wood Specialties of Kelowna replicated these historic elements. Miller Builders of Kelowna repaired or replaced rotten siding and trim elsewhere on the house, and then Hardman Painting of Kelowna took on the exterior. Pamela herself took on the job of carefully painting the new gable trim and added green as the seventh color. With trussed gables down, Hardman painters were able to reach the topmost fishtail shingles and the inside of the gable. Hidden for decades, they hungered for fresh paint. Miller Brothers returned to install the decorative trim, the true glory of this 124-year-old house. Congratulations to owner Pamela Bullman and to Hardman Painting, Miller Builders, and Google's Wood Specialties. Our second Stewardship Award goes to David and Judy Nyren and their Moffat House at 1219 Ginter. Built in 1930, the house is south of Kirkwood Avenue in the Lucas Farms neighborhood, which is peppered with dozens of Moffat houses. Howard Moffat was a local builder of small rental homes from the 1920s into the early 40s. Moffat houses are known for their appealing cottage-like style, use of recycled and unexpected materials, and eclectic features. 1219 Ginter is similar to a home featured in a 1930s issue of Better Homes and Gardens, a magazine that sometimes inspired Moffat. Nyren's house features a modified cat-slide roof, a large prominent chimney, multiple levels, uneven floors, and a below-grade garage, all typical Moffat characteristics. The Nyrens purchased their home in 1976. Over the years, they have tried to make improvements complementary to Moffat's original design. Recent projects included restoring a screened-in porch and improving the exterior appearance of a 1980s two-story addition. The bump-out window and details minimize the scale of the addition. The fireplace and chimney have been repaired twice in the 44 years they have lived there. The stucco-coated brick chimney was rebuilt by a Mount Vernon contractor who said the condition of the bricks suggested they were at least 100 years old. Moffat probably had recycled them from an older building being demolished. The brick contractor also mixed in glass chunks and rocks to recreate Moffat's unusual stucco texture on the chimney. In 2011, the Nyrens opened up their home for the popular Parade of Historic Homes, sponsored by Friends of Historic Preservation and which showcased Moffat houses that year. Dave dressed up as Howard Moffat and told funny tales of his quirky building style. Judy enjoys researching Moffat houses. She has even worked with local geologists to determine the origin of some of the stone used in some Moffats, and the couple has connected with Howard Moffat's son Jim in Texas. The Nyrens are good stewards of both their home and of the stories related to builder Howard Moffat. Congratulations to Judy and David Nyren, and to Lammers Construction, painter Matt Pugh and his business Finish Matters, and Scott Miltner and crew.
Thanks, Jin Lee. Hello, my name is Jennifer Price, and I'm the chair of the Johnson County Historic Preservation Commission. The Johnson County Historic Preservation Commission is a group of 9 county residents tasked with preserving and promoting the preservation of historic buildings, sites, and structures throughout the county, which includes everything outside of Iowa city limits. Lately, the Commission has been very busy helping the county develop the National Register listed Johnson County Historic Poor Farm into a public history site and community asset. Along with that commitment, the Commission each year seeks out historic preservation projects and well-preserved historic landmarks in the county for special recognition during the Iowa City Historic Preservation Award ceremony. To accomplish this, we would welcome the public's input in identifying outstanding examples of historic preservation in Johnson County, and we have a Facebook page that you can reach us through. This year, the Commission identified 2 excellent properties for preservation awards, one in the category of historic rehabilitation and one in the category of stewardship. The award for historic rehabilitation in Johnson County goes to the Dancemore Ballroom in Swisher. The Dancemore Ballroom in Swisher has been a fixture in northern Johnson County since its opening in 1929 as an open-air dance floor called the Paramount Pavilion. It was enclosed in 1932 and renamed the Swisher Pavilion. In 1960, the interior was updated and the venue reopened as the Dancemore Ballroom. The Dancemore reflects Iowa's ballroom era and one of just 20 remaining in the state. Throughout its 91 years, the Dancemore has had only 3 owners. 4 years after its closure in 2014, the current and third owners, Nick and Rebecca Neuendorf, purchased the building and embarked on a 6-month rehabilitation and refurbishment of the venue to bring the Dancemore back to life while retaining its history. The current structure retains the original stage, maple dance floor, and light blue paint scheme. The rafters and trusses are also thought to be original, dating to the construction of the roof in 1932. The built-in seating surrounding the dance floor appears historic as well. Inducted into the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2005, the Dancemore has featured such big names as the Dorsey Brothers, Bo Ramsey and the Sliders, Bobby V, Conway Twitty, Sonny James, Iowa's Blue Band, and many other top-billed acts on its big stage. The venue has consistently drawn large crowds, and many would travel up to 3 hours to enjoy the shows, and mark special moments together. For instance, Tiny Hill and his orchestra were performing on the evening that the end of World War II was announced. Through the Neuendorf's efforts, the Dancemore is back, offering a taste of Iowa's ballroom era to a new generation. The Johnson County Historic Preservation Commission is pleased to present this award to Nick and Rebecca Neuendorf for the historic rehabilitation and reopening of the Dancemore Ballroom in downtown Swisher. And the award for stewardship in Johnson County goes to Stone Academy Schoolhouse in Solon. Academy Schoolhouse was built in 1842 and functioned as a one-room school for 111 years, ending classes in 1953. Originally known as Big Grove Township School Number 1, Stone Academy was constructed of limestone from the McCune Quarry on the Cedar River. The limestone construction represented the settlement's financial commitment to education. Located on a picturesque acre off Highway 1, which was the stagecoach route from Dubuque to Iowa City then, the school depicts a traditional front gable design with a rectangular shape, a single central door on the gable end, and 3 windows on each side. The earliest settlers in the area were from New England, followed by Bohemian arrivals in the 1850s, and their descendants attended the school throughout its history. The current interior and furnishings reflect the history of the schoolhouse in early to mid-20th century. At one time, there were over 12,000 one-room schoolhouses in Iowa, evenly spaced throughout the countryside, so that no student would have to walk more than 2 miles to school. The Stone Academy is owned by the Solon Community School District and cared for by volunteers and community groups.
The school was listed on the National Register of Historic Places 20 years ago after an outpouring of community support for repairs, including replacing the shake roof twice in 1 year. The Stone Academy Schoolhouse is a stellar example of a public and private preservation partnership. Stone Academy is open for special tours, summer events, and school groups. In particular, Todd Kopecky's class, Revisit Iowa, a popular elective at Solon High School, taught by Kopecky to about 30 students twice a year. Through this class, his students learn about the history of Iowa, supplemented by a variety of field trips to historic sites, one of which is a trip to Stone Academy. During the visit, Kopecky challenges the students to compare their modern high school to learning in one room with one teacher for all 8 grades. The students sit in the wood and iron desks connected to each other in neat rows, learning about a time when McGuffey readers were used for each grade level. The emphasis was on rote learning, and the goals of education were to develop literacy and create good citizens. Guest speaker, Denny Gruber, a retired teacher and originator of the class, often regales the students with his real-life experience attending a one-room schoolhouse in Iowa. The Johnson County Historic Preservation Commission is pleased to present this award to the Solon Community School District, along with the Stone Academy Foundation, for the exceptional stewardship and preservation of this 178-year-old schoolhouse and educational landmark in Johnson County. The Commission also recognizes the Solon Community School District for dedicating the funds to include the Revisit Iowa class in their curriculum, and Solon High School social studies teacher Todd Kopecky for his use of the Stone Academy in making Iowa history come alive for local high school students.
Well, that concludes all of our awards tonight. Thank you all so much for joining virtually. Tonight, this video is available for watching later on all of the kind of the City Channel 4 options. So just a final congrats to all of our winners. And once again, thank you for joining us tonight and have a good evening.